Welcome to the demo video of Halcyon Calc for the iPhone and the iPod Touch, brought to you by Halcyon Touch software. In this video, we will be demonstrating some of the key features of Halcyon Calc, a very powerful calculator. Let's tap the icon to launch the application. On the bottom half of the screen is a set of buttons. There are actually two pages of buttons. Swipe with your finger to switch between the two pages. Or you can tap the page control at the bottom of the calculator to switch to the left or right button page. The right-hand button page is where you'll find most of the commonly used buttons, so for basic calculations, you will not be flipping pages. This red button on the right-hand page is a shift button. When you press it, most buttons change, providing even more functions. The same happens to the buttons on the left-hand page. If we press the red button again, the buttons return to their default state. So most buttons actually have two functions, which depends on whether the shift is on or off. Above these buttons, there is a set of 6 menu buttons. By default, the 6 buttons allow you to edit your current entry. There are arrow buttons for moving the cursor, and insert and delete buttons. Some buttons, like the trig button, will swap out these 6 menu buttons for a new set of buttons. You can use next and previous to flip through pages of these menu buttons. The trig menu has 3 pages of buttons. You can also just swipe left and right to page through these buttons. So these menu buttons allow you to dynamically bring in specific sets of buttons, like trig and logarithm functions. Above that is the stack where numbers and results appear. The top of the stack is at the bottom of this display and is labeled with a 1. Items below that appear also, labeled 2, 3, etc. If I type the number 123, you can see the numbers appearing. Notice that the top of the stack has moved up in the display a little bit, providing a space to enter this number. This is the current entry. Press Enter to push this number on the stack. Let's push some more numbers onto the stack. Now we have 6 numbers on the stack, but you can only see the 4 numbers entered. But you can swipe up and down to scroll through the stack, so you can quickly see the older numbers. Now that we have seen how to enter numbers onto the stack, it is time to do some basic math. Halcyon Calc is a reverse Polish notation calculator, or an RPN calculator. RPN means that you enter your numbers first, and then perform operations on those numbers from the stack. Imagine we want to add 123 to 456. To do this, first we put the number 123 on the stack. With 123 now on the stack, we can enter 456. Although we haven't pressed Enter yet, we can now hit plus, which will put 456 on the stack, and then the plus operation grabs those two numbers from the top of the stack, adds them, and pushes the result back on the stack. So you can see that the number 579 is now at the top of the stack. We won't be going into a lot of detail about RPN in this video, but many of you might be thinking this is very strange. However, many people find RPN easier to deal with than the usual calculator interface, especially when you need to control what operations happen in what order. But if you find it more natural to work with normal algebraic expressions, you can do that also with Halcyon Calc. In this case, we start the expression with a single quote. Then we can type 123 plus 456, just like you're used to. Then to get the answer, press eval, which will evaluate that expression and push the answer, 579, onto the stack, which is what we expect. These expressions can contain multiple operations, and the usual order of operations applies. So if we enter the expression 1 plus 2 times 3, the result is 7, because the 2 times 3 operation is evaluated first. To force the expression to evaluate the addition first, enter bracket 1 plus 2, close bracket, times 3. In this case, the result is 9. So if you aren't keen on RPN, you can use the calculator in this way. In a sense, this may be even more natural than normal calculator usage because you can enter an expression just as you would write it. Halcyon Calc provides over 150 different operations. Among those operations is a complete set of trig and logarithm functions. Let's press the trig button to see the trig operations. We can calculate the sine of 5 or the arctangent of 3. Note that by default, the calculator expects and returns angles in radians, but you can switch to degrees in the mode menu. Then, if we calculate the sine of 5 again, in this case 5 is expressed as degrees and the result reflects that, or the arctangent of 3, again the result in this case is expressed in degrees. Also, the log menu provides a set of logarithm functions. We can get the base 10 logarithm of 13 or the natural logarithm of 5. We can get the value of e to the 4 by entering 4 and pressing the exp button. The next page also has a set of hyperbolic trig functions. Here we can get the hyperbolic sine of 5 or the inverse hyperbolic tangent of 3. Notice the result of the inverse hyperbolic tangent looks a bit strange, which brings us to a demonstration of complex number support on the calculator.